All right, we're rolling. Everything's working. We're ready to go.
Okay.
Charlie is being really quiet.
Wheels in motion.
Yes. I'm Victor Hugo.
And I'm a hunchback who lives in a cathedral.
And this is a really bad Disney film. Welcome.
It's not a bad Disney film. It's one of the more strong and direct evil villains in Disney.
That's true. That's true, and I'm the hero. So
It's not like Scar. Scar
if you're Scar, then I'm Simba. You know, I'm Mufasa. I'm gonna be Mufasa.
Mufasa's a small part.
Mufasa's not a small part.
It's a
That
small
dying
part.
scene is the worst. When you're a kid, you cry at that.
Well,
Don't tell me you didn't cry when
of
Mufasa.
course I didn't. Of course I didn't, because I've got some pride in myself.
All right. Well, let's roll the intro.
Roll the intro.
All right. So, welcome to Brew Darn Hot.
Brew darn hot.
Yeah, we were gonna call it Brew Damn Hot, but then we decided that was
Yeah,
a little.
we had a whole conversation, didn't we, about
Yeah.
what the actual lyric is. Of course, we're referring to the mighty Cole Porter.
Yeah.
And it's too darn hot.
Yeah. So everything that I looked up said it was darn, but you were convinced that there was some obscure, like, original where they said the word damn. So sorry if there are, little kids listening to this.
Yeah, of course, there'll be several saucy words like damn and gosh darn it.
Gosh darn it, how saucy. So I'm Caitlin. I was born in Manhattan. I was born in Lenox Hill. It's not there anymore. But there's a really interesting, I think, a Netflix series about Lenox Hill Hospital. Mm-hmm. I'm from Manhattan, and I moved upstate for a while, New York State, and then I ended up here in Liverpool to be with my love and partner, David.
To be fair, you did make that sound like you just ended up in Liverpool. Like you woke up one morning and got on the wrong bus and just arrived.
I swam the wrong ocean.
There's only two, and you picked the wrong one. Actually, no, there's the Indian Ocean as well, isn't it? Yeah.
You fell in love with me when you saw me come out of the Atlantic Ocean in my bathing suit, right?
It was the seaweed in your hair.
It's my arm muscles too.
And the crustaceans, which really did it for me.
The only crustacean I can really say that I relate to is...
the winkle.
Who's... The what?
The winkle. It's a very, very tiny crustacean, which is more sand than creature.
Well, I was going to say the lobster from Little Mermaid, Sebastian. That's who I relate to. Speaking of which, there's an excellent parody online. We didn't even get to the online segment yet, but there's an excellent parody online of Be Our Guest from Beauty and the Beast. And it's all about wearing your mask. Wear your mask, wear your mask. And it's great. The dub is great. The singing is great.
That's an interesting point. Sebastian is the water-born version of Lumiere.
Yeah, he really is. He's like...
Disney have got no imagination at all. They just rewrite the same characters.
Lumiere is just Sebastian reincarnated. That's true. It's really true. There's always that funny sidekick, in that Disney film. Well, anyway... tell us about yourself.
Well, I am a Liverpudlian, which people think is in the United Kingdom. They would be wrong. Quite right, Charlie.
Charlie, you got to be quiet. We're trying to film a podcast, please.
Quite right.
Quite right.
Quite right.
He agrees.
Charlie's just agreeing that we are not in the United Kingdom. We are quite like Athens or Sparta. We are an independent city-state. And it breeds a certain type of attitude in people. And what you'll find over the coming weeks is that it mainly breeds an attitude of, I don't like anything or anyone.
That's not from Liverpool.
Exactly.
That's not Liverpudlian.
This is true. There are certain groups who are acceptable. New Yorkers.
Hey, what up?
Because New Yorkers are Liverpudlians, just with weird accents. Dubliners, Glaswegians, and a few others.
Glaswegians? That sounds like a disease that only people from Glasgow get.
Well,
Like lesions,
lesions, Glasgow style.
Like if you have somebody from Glasgow just tagging along, he's a glad lesion.
Aye.
I think I was surprised when I first came here, and you seem to hate everything except people from Liverpool, and I was like, I couldn't wrap my head around. I'm like, what has everybody done to the Liverpudlians? But it's not that anything was like done to the Liverpudlians. You just are very proud. You're very proud of being from Liverpool, and Liverpool is fantastic. I love it. I've been here for 2 months, 2.5 months.
Yeah.
Famously the birthplace of the Beatles.
Ugh. It took us, 2-3 minutes in the first episode to mention the Beatles. Ugh.
Well, my dad will want us to mention the Beatles. He'll be sitting there like, why haven't they talked about Paul McCartney yet? Anyway.
Paul's got a new album coming out.
He does? Wait, did you tell me this?
No, it's called McCartney 3. Which is Paul sitting in his shed at the bottom of the garden, recording his own stuff during lockdown.
I never thought about that. I never thought, to check up on my favorite musicians and see if they're being
Paul's
productive.
all right in the shed.
Yeah, I mean, does he really have a shed?
I hope so.
I hope so,
I
too.
really hope so.
When I heard Man in a Shed by Nick Drake, I pictured him in a shed. So now
I can imagine Nick Drake would go and hide in a shed though.
Yeah.
He seems the type of musician who would hide in a shed.
He probably wrote all his music in a shed.
Specifically in a shed next to some creosote and some paint stripper and a lawnmower.
Okay. No, I'm just picturing Nick Drake mowing his lawn. Let's move on.
Sadly, suppressed.
So another Liverpudlian thing, the Reds. So for those of you who don't know, we're referring to Liverpool Football Club. That's a really big deal here. Football meaning soccer for all of our American listeners. So we just found out that one of their most important players. What position is he, Van Dijk?
He's a central defender, what we used to call a central defender or a centre back.
He's out. He's injured.
He's very injured. He'll be out for many games.
That's been the big news this week here.
Which is a big problem. The Reds played last night against Holland's finest, Ajax. Who are a good
Bless
side.
you. Sorry, I don't want to anger any. Where are they from? The Netherlands?
The Netherlands, the Low Countries.
I don't mean to insult anybody from the Netherlands. That's a strange name, Ajax.
There's a scouring powder, well, there used to be here.
Ajax?
Called Ajax.
Yeah, we have that in America.
That's good stuff. It's just spelled the same as Ajax. I'm not.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm not just randomly mentioning scouring powders, love. Because that'd be weird, even by my standards, just to cut across and be like, what's your favourite scouring?
I missed out on so many good puns at the game. Gotta clean them up, boys.
Oh, I'm so glad you didn't. It would have ruined my enjoyment of the match.
It was a good match. Kick that, was it Thiago?
No, it was Fabinho off the line.
Yeah, he did this he just kind of flipped upside down and he kicked the ball right out. The ball was headed over the line.
Half overhead kick, wasn't it, to clear the ball off the line?
Yeah. It was awesome.
But as we say, it's big Veg. Van Dijk is going to be out for weeks. It's going to be a problem for us. But I don't know. I was impressed with Fabinho's performance last night. I thought he was solid, seeing as he's not played with Gomez before.
Their lineup was all messed up last night. I mean, I don't want to say messed up as in bad. They still won.
No, I mean
they're all mixed up.
Hendo wasn't fully fit.
Yeah.
That's why he didn't play a full game.
Hendo. I gotta have a song for Hendo. I've got a song for all of the players, So
you have.
I've got to make sure I have a song for Hendo, but I don't think I have one.
No,
Hendo. Hendo. Daylight come and you want a hendo. Okay, there you go. Got it.
There we go. Write it down, babe. It's done. It's done. Lock
Pack
it
it
in.
up.
Lock it in.
Anyway, so that was one of the major things that happened this week. Also
We should really explain why Big Veg was injured.
Go ahead.
So
He explains this stuff way better than I do, so I'm gonna let him do it. He knows the names of all the players and where they play. I'm just learning. I'm still getting to know. My favorite is Mane.
Yeah,
Money,
absolutely.
money, money, money.
Money.
I was wondering if he was gonna do it. He did it. Okay, so explain for the viewers.
The Merseyside derby. A derby is spelled derby, interestingly enough, but a derby is when two local teams play each other, and it happens twice a season on Merseyside. The other club in Liverpool is Everton Football Club.
The blue shite.
Dirty, dirty, dirty.
A taxi driver tried to convert me to be an Everton fan on the way here. The first day I landed in Liverpool, and I was on the way to your house, and he was like, "What's your football club?" And I'm like,
Well,
dude, I just got here.
I did warn you, didn't I?
Yeah.
It's like one of the first things you'll be asked by strangers.
Yeah. Well, luckily I've been following the Reds for a while. Even before I got here, we've been watching the games together, online and stuff. So, yeah. But the Derby.
The derby.
Derby, sorry. Not the Kentucky Derby. The Derby.
There's less horses in the Merseyside derby. Although not to look at Everton fans
Oh!
by the long face.
Oh!
Because they've not won a trophy since 1995, that's why. But the derby is always a rough and tumble game.
Yeah.
And because Everton are dreadful at the sport of football.
And they play dirty in this game for some reason.
That's exactly what they do. They just go out and kick
Yeah.
Liverpool players.
And unfortunately, Van Dijk, what happened? They ran into each other. They tried to, one of the Everton players.
The keeper came out and purposefully just scissor kicked him down the legs, and he's blown his knee out. So that's why we won't be with having Virgin in the side for the next few weeks. And
he's seriously injured.
It could be a problem for us, but we'll see. I don't know. We'll have to see. Last night, they performed better at the back for me than they have been for a while.
Yeah, so we've been saying all along, and I'm sure every Liverpool football club fan has been saying that the defenders are playing really high. They're pushing the line up, and everyone's been saying, they've got to get back. And I think maybe it was because the lineup was shifted and they weren't playing with their teammates that they're used to having in those positions. They were the back line was all
we saw it last night, and they dropped back another few feet.
It was a couple of feet
to give us enough room to defend, rather than playing the offside trap all the time.
Yeah. So we were pleased about that. We were pleased that you're sort of acknowledged that it wasn't a great performance. We did win, but and I think that coming from the States and seeing like the passion that people have for the sport, it's akin to the way New Yorkers love their baseball team. Yeah. Everton versus Liverpool is sort of like the Mets versus the Yankees. We all live in the same general area. Everyone has their team.
Yeah.
And if you're not a Yankee fan and you're with a bunch of Yankee fans, you're going to get humiliated and made fun of. And it's playful. It's mostly playful, but you can feel the tension. You can feel the rivalry.
Yeah, famously, arguably Liverpool's greatest manager, Bill Shankly, famously said, football isn't a matter of life and death. It's more important than that.
So true.
And that's the attitude of... It's the attitude of...
I just realized I was supposed to... Damn it! I knew we were gonna mess up this podcast, but I forgot to put the counter on. I'm gonna turn it on now. Just so that...
There it is.
I've got a clock going so that we just don't talk for hours and hours. And bore the hell out of you.
Well, I'm sure the audience is enthralled by us using terms like offside trap. particularly for American listeners who are sitting there thinking, what in football? They leave bear traps and things for people? What a vicious sport.
I understand the offside rule.
Babe, I'm not explaining the offside rule to people at a distance. I'm not doing it.
We'll talk about this on another episode of the pod. We'll get into the offside rule.
I have drawn you diagrams and you still don't understand
I
it.
stare at the game and I see them saying, oh, it was offside. And I'm like, where? I didn't see it. I didn't see it. You know?
Even when they circle the dude who was offside.
Yes, and they draw the line across the field and show, like, this toe is offside. I'm like, but what does it mean? Why? Who? But I'm getting better at figuring it out. So, you know, it's one of those things I think it's going to take a while.
I suppose we should address the issue of why we've been watching the Reds at a distance for a long time.
Yeah.
Not so much us watching the Reds at a distance, you and I together watching the match at a distance.
Yeah, so we were long distance for a while. We were long distance for about a year almost.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we did together to, you know, spend time with each other and have something that we could bond over and something exciting that we could look forward to is we watched all of the Liverpool Football Club games on Sky Go.
Yeah. Right? And it was the first time Liverpool had won the league in 30 years.
Yeah. So I was trying to not only learn the names of the players, who's what position, like, you know, learn all the, like, you know, the famous Liverpool Football Club players of past. And then I'm thrust into the exciting season of the Reds winning the Premier League. For
the first time. Well, it was the first time we've ever won the Premier League because 30 years ago it was still the first division.
Right.
So that was the thing.
Yeah. I mean, I had a lot of fun. There was times where I was sitting in Panera. You guys don't have Panera here, but it's a cafe back in New York, in the States. I would be sitting in Panera and be going, yay! And then, like, you know, I had been sitting in that Panera for 2.5 hours watching this game on my laptop, on the app, with you in my ear. You know, I had one headphone in to hear the game and then the phone up against my other ear so that we could be watching it together. And people just thought I was nuts.
Yeah, it used to really worry me, the idea that you shouldn't get up and buy, like, another roll or something.
I did for the most part. I mean, I usually, when those games were over, I was like, let me get out of here before someone says something to me.
You were, to be fair,
Yeah. Panera, they're kind of like, they'll give you the evil eye. They won't say anything, but they'll be like, you've been here way too long.
Oh, passive-aggressive bakers are the worst.
Exactly. But yeah, so that's in the news. Virgil van Dijk injured. Shall we address the election that's happening? 11 days, 8 hours, according to the countdown on Google. And we'll know who has won the U.S. presidential election. The debates have been pretty interesting. There's a lot of tension in the air. I've got my ballot. I'm mailing it out probably tomorrow or whenever I remember to get myself out of bed and to the post office on time.
Yeah, it's obviously, as an outsider, it's a spectacle to watch.
Yeah, what do you think of all this? What do you think of
I mean, this is something we've talked about many times before. In a lot of ways, you know, growing up in the 80s and 90s, I had a very Americanized, quote-unquote, upbringing. America has been a cornerstone. American culture has been a cornerstone of my life.
He is so into everything American. He knows more things about Americana and about, like, history of American cities and musicians, and he's really big on that stuff. He knows more than I do about it, and I'm a musician. I'm a music teacher, so, you know, he knows more about Bob Dylan than I do. He's a huge Bob fan.
I am. But I don't know. As an outsider, it's a strange thing to watch a country at a crossroads, really. And I don't think it's just necessarily the United States that's at a crossroads per se in its political outlook or its cultural direction. I think that's happening all over the world. But America being America,
America has some problems.
it's just on a bigger scale. It's just on a a macro scale, and it has an effect on the rest of the world. And as such, I don't know. It's a
It's a difficult time to be an American abroad as well, because
although I certainly don't want to put words in your mouth, but you haven't experienced any sort of you're an American in Liverpool, have you?
that's true, but I'm expecting it. I mean, for the most part, we've been staying inside.
Yeah.
COVID is out there. For anybody listening to this, it's mid-October. COVID is everywhere in Liverpool. Things are pretty bad here, so we don't really go out unless we have to go to the doctor or we have to get our, the car fixed or something.
Yeah.
For the most part, I haven't been gallivanting around Liverpool, which I really wanted to do. I've been so excited, but I haven't really come in contact with that many people from Liverpool who can tell right away that I'm American and say something about it.
Yeah.
I'm expecting it at some point, but I haven't really.
Yeah, to a certain extent, you shouldn't really get that here. Mm-hmm. Maybe in other parts of the country, but not so much here.
Apparently you like New Yorkers, so I escaped the...
Well, the Reds are owned by New Yorkers.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Wow,
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
We own you. If anybody ever makes fun of me for not knowing something about the Reds, I'll be like, by the way, New York owns your club, so,
Yeah.
Take it back. I'll take it back to the homeland, and we'll see what they have to say about you harassing me.
What does it feel like being detached on a daily basis from the process of an election?
It's a really good question. It feels like I'm in a bubble. It feels like I can just ignore it and it's not there for a while. But then whenever I talk to someone from home, whenever I talk to my parents or some friends back in the States, the conversation always turns towards, the election and the general tension and anger of people in the States. And I can sort of free myself from that because I'm not really experiencing it firsthand. So it feels very far away right now.
Yeah.
Of course I'm concerned, but it also gives me the perspective of the world still turns. Like we saw the election here in the UK.
Yeah.
Was very upsetting for the Labour Party. And we basically saw the party kind of fall to pieces after the election results, and people who were, really excited about a possible victory for the Labour Party. It's like, but you wake up the next day, and the world keeps going. At least for you, for most people. For some people, it doesn't. Some people who are really gonna feel the effects of that election. Not get, the health care or the job opportunities or the type of place they want to live in, because of that loss. Of course, people will suffer because of it, but, as far as we're concerned, we're pretty good here in our little bubble of just waiting it out,
I think that's the thing with any election, any political process, when it doesn't go the way you hoped. If it doesn't go your way in the United States, whatever your political persuasion may be, the best thing you can do is, if the macro picture is too much, focus on the people you love, the people you care about, and look after each other.
That's so true.
That's how you get through times where, because 4 or 5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
And there can be major changes in a nation anywhere within that period, and if the people you don't necessarily agree with are in power, it can be a really rough time, and it can be a bad time for many, many people.
Yeah.
And I think the best thing you can do is look after each other.
Be understanding about it.
And try and be understanding about it.
Put yourself in other people's shoes.
Because all things pass.
Yeah.
Eventually, everything comes to an end.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly how I feel, if Trump wins, if Biden wins, either way, I'm going to be here. I'm not going to really feel the direct effects of that.
Yeah.
I know that people are going to be feeling it, but it just it teaches you that life goes on. My number one worry when I wake up the next day after the election is, do we have any marmalade left in the cabinet? Because we're really into this orange marmalade that we've been ordering from Sainsbury's. And not to laugh and make a joke of it, but it just gives you some perspective. There's a whole great big world out there, and one election, yeah, it might suck, but, what do you think, Chuck? You know what? Let's ask Charlie what he thinks about the election. Charlie, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, that's a tremendous insight.
Do you have anything?
I hadn't thought about it that way.
Do you think that Trump is going to win or Biden's going to win? Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah, that's all. It's a tough call.
Say. It's a tough call.
You can't trust the polls. You're right, yeah. You're right.
Speaking of polls, let's move into our segment where we talk about our favorite things and album or song of the week.
I thought you were going to ask me my favourite poll, and I would have said North.
I thought you would have said the stripper pole we have installed upstairs. Because you've been really enjoying that.
I've told you before, that is not a stripper pole. That is there to hold that part of the roof up.
Okay. Oh, we have to get this out there. Does anybody know how to get a digital piano keyboard up a flight of stairs using a pulley system? We have one banister that's sort of like the longest, strongest banister.
You can't just say, does anybody know how to get a digital piano up the stairs using a pulley system without some explanation in between? Because surely everyone just went, wait, what? With the pulley system?
Okay, let me explain. So we're very protective during this COVID time. We really don't want people coming in and out of the house. We're trying to make sure that we stay healthy so that we can help your parents who are elderly.
My mom's not listening to this. She just called her elderly.
Okay, we'll edit that out. But we want to make sure that we're not bringing COVID into the house. So we don't want to hire movers. We don't want your family or friends to come in if they've been out in public. We want to sort of keep this a safe haven for us, just to make sure that we're healthy, we're safe.
And we're keeping other people the same way as well. That's a big part of it. It's not just about us. It's about
not infecting other people.
And not infecting other people.
We're not afraid of COVID. We're not afraid of getting it. We probably have both actually already had it back in February, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm a music teacher, and I've been doing lessons from home, and I've been wanting to transform the upstairs second bedroom / storage / workroom into a studio where we can both work, and put some shelves and desks and things up there, and eventually move our podcast stuff up there, which involved getting a secondhand digital piano off of Craigslist from some dude in Southport, and we drove it back, and it's way heavier than we thought. And
no. Way heavier than you thought.
Way heavier than I thought. I thought we'd be able to get this up the stairs. We can't. It's a 3-person job unless we can science it by coming up with an elaborate pulley system where we can distribute the weight among the banister upstairs and have a rope that we can pull it up the stairs.
I mean, we must be able to do it. It can't be beyond the wit of man.
I saw a YouTube video where like a fourth grader used a double pulley system to pull his principal up on a swing. And it was like a fourth grade girl. She did it all by herself. So there's got to be a way that we can both pull this thing up the stairs using a pulley.
Well, I mean, the Egyptians built the pyramids. Surely we
Right.
can figure something out.
I mean, that's probably how they did it at Stonehenge, right? Or no, they rolled it along the ground.
Well, yeah, I mean, they rolled them on logs.
They didn't
I
have
can't remember
steps. They didn't live in Liverpool and have a second story where they had to, navigate up the steps and then around like a stair, around a banister, and like.
There weren't, no, you're quite right. There weren't many
Nope.
sort of first floor problems.
Nobody's building Stonehenge in Liverpool, let's be honest.
No, what would be the point? There's one on Salisbury Plain.
I saw Stonehenge made out of trombone cases one time. Someone posted it online. They got all their trombone friends. They had enough trombone playing friends with cases to build Stonehenge out of the trombone cases.
You inhabit the strangest parts of the internet.
I know. That's because I have friends who are musicians.
I have friends who
weird
are
things.
musicians, but none of them have ever sent me a picture
You
of
like
trombone Stonehenge.
you have cool friends. All my friends are nerds. So we inhabit a different space of the internet than
Me
you
too.
and your musical cool Bob Dylan friends.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
So what's your album or song of the week?
Oh, what have I been listening to?
What have you been listening to?
I haven't really got an album, but
You were bopping around this morning to stuff. What were you listening to?
it was. See, this is the thing lately. I'm just spinning singles more than anything else, but
Living that single life. Yep.
not anymore. Whoop whoop.
Not that kind of single.
But the one record that has really just been stuck in my head all week is Patsy Cline's version of Crazy Arms.
Oh, that's so good.
It's got the Jordanaires doing backing vocals, and
Woo woo.
it's got this weird, almost Latin beat intro, and then the strings come in, and it's great. It's absolutely amazing. That's been stuck in my head all week.
That's awesome. That's a really good answer. My answer this morning, for whatever reason, I forget why. Oh, we were talking about A Whole New World. You had a whole new world
I
stuck
also
in your
had
head.
A Whole New World from Aladdin stuck in my head, which isn't very me, really.
No, but it led me to a rabbit hole because I'm into Broadway, music teacher, musicals, love it. Really into that stuff. It led me down a Leah Salonga rabbit hole where we watched a lot of Miss Saigon clips. So my musical of the week is Miss Saigon.
I am perplexed by Miss Saigon.
What about? How?
I-
Howley.
Don't get me wrong, obviously it's a fine work with a tremendous score. Mm-hmm. But my God, that's a grim night out, isn't it?
Yes.
Good Lord.
I was telling him, they took me to see that in 7th grade at my high school. I was a member of this group, and we went on a field trip, and we were like, yay, Miss Saigon, we don't know what it's about because we're 13. And it was traumatizing. There were prostitutes. The opening scene is like a brothel, and
That was just on Broadway.
it was yeah. Yeah. It's very grim. It's a grim score, but it's a beautiful score in my opinion. If you can get past the whole Vietnam War stuff.
Well, I mean that's the thing. So it's you are guiding me through the musical theatre landscape.
Yeah.
And
Sort of.
up to now, I've got to say, the Legally Blonde musical is a barnstormer.
I know that's
It's fun for all the family.
even you, Cha. Even Cha liked it.
It is.
Chi, you liked it, didn't you? Well, okay, tell us your favorite character. Okay. Well, my favorite character is obviously Elle Woods. It's a great musical if you're feeling down you're stuck inside, you're not working, whatever is going on in your life, just watch Legally Blonde musical.
What's the... Ted Bundy? What's her name?
Laura Bell Bundy.
That's the one.
Laura Bell Bundy is amazing in that role. We watched I guess you'd call it a bootleg version of the stage show.
It's the MTV recording of the opening night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's so funny that they did that live, which is crazy. Like I've seen some live things. They did a Les Mis live. They did a Sound of Music live.
I've seen the Les Mis live.
Yeah. They recorded that live, but it's a hard musical to sing. She's just belting the whole time.
She's amazing.
She's just high strung. She's belting. She's just bouncing in her blonde energy.
Yeah, she is. But she's all. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
It was great. It was a great musical.
Great. What else have we watched? We've watched Pippin. Which I had never heard of.
Mm-hmm. Has some good moments. Not the best.
It's okay.
It's all right. I like Pippin because I'm a fan of a lot of the score. There are some duds in Pippin, and there's never been a really truly great Pippin. Most people think of the original Broadway cast, but
it was good enough for me to be able to watch it all the way through without pointing out the massive historical mistakes.
Yeah, that's another thing everybody needs to know. That David's a history buff.
Yeah.
Have we told people our real names? We have. Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Sorry, we just got to get, the red tape in the business.
Yeah.
Out.
I'm glad you talked me out of only referring to myself as Yitzhak Rabin.
Is that what you were going to do?
I was just going to call myself Yitzhak Rabin.
I don't even know what to say to that.
No, but why would you? Why would you?
I don't even know what we're talking about right now.
So...
my mind has just...
Yitzhak Rabin does that to people. That's why he was so successful in politics. He just baffled people.
Miss Saigon, Pippin, Legally Blonde. What else have we watched? We both have already seen Les Mis.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and find a good...
Oh, we watched Rent. Sorry.
Rent. We did watch Rent.
We watched Rent. We watched the 2015. Was it earlier? 2005?
It was earlier than 2015, definitely.
It's 2005, then the 2000s movie version.
It was in the early 2000s. That movie came out with Rosario Dawson and the original Mark and the original Roger. And they had Rosario Dawson as Mimi.
It's
great
the original
musical.
Angel as well, right? The original Angel?
I think I think it was the original Angel. One of the angels that were... that was on Broadway. But yeah, it's a great musical. The movie doesn't do it justice, but it's nice to have.
It doesn't. It's
nice to have just because there was no stage performance of it that's been recorded.
Yeah.
And recorded in a professional way.
Yeah.
And that musical ran for so long. I went to the city with my friends so many times to see Rent because we knew it like the back of our hands and we were excited for Over the Moon. We were excited to see, we saw... what's her name? Maureen. We saw Frozen Lady, actress who played Maureen. Let it go. Idina Menzel.
That's it.
We saw Idina Menzel as Maureen, and we went back.
Brilliant.
Yeah, she's great. We saw her as Maureen. That's probably my number one musical that I've seen the most. That was a bad sentence. Sometimes I'm bad at sentences.
It was a sentence.
It was very bad.
It was a sentence.
Yes. So anyway, Miss Saigon, I don't think I'm going to convince him to watch the whole thing because it's pretty grim.
No.
But Lea Salonga, Queen! She's just amazing.
She is. She's extraordinary. And to watch it at 18.
Yeah.
Turning that score out.
Yeah.
Really,
she's really strong.
She's breathtaking. She really is.
She's a great singer. So I guess let's move on to our TV series of the week, which we probably have the same answer.
Absolutely. I am a convert. I have seen the light.
To be fair, I haven't watched the majority of the seasons of the show, but we've been really loving The Amazing Race.
The Amazing Race, indeed.
There's about 30 seasons of it, and the drama is off the wall.
It's amazing. There's a race. What else do you want?
It's amazing.
It's amazingly
We want
racy.
it. Amazing.
It's really good. It's a good show. I'm not a fan of
Romantic Europe.
romantic Europe.
They keep saying when the contestants win a leg of the race, you've won a fully paid vacation to romantic Europe. Now, these are people who have been flying around the world on a race. If you've never seen the show, they fly from country to country, from city to city, continent to continent. One day they're in Milan, next day they're in Uganda. Like, you know what I mean? So to these people, it's sort of vague to say romantic Europe, but
Well, anyone who's even got a basic knowledge of geography knows that romantic Europe is just outside melancholic Europe.
second star to the right and straight on to a morning.
And straight on to buff Europe.
Buff. Where are they now? Or the season that we're watching now, they were in Morocco.
They were in Tangier and then went to Fez.
Fez, yep. They were in Old Town Fez, and they were searching for the clue, so they got to find the clue wherever they are.
Oh my god, that was
in
so
these
gross.
vats of like piss that they use to.
Well, it's not. To be fair, it's not just piss.
No, I know it's not.
It's dye.
Yes, it's
But
dye.
Piss makes the dye stick to.
Yeah. They mix in. I don't know what animal's piss it is. Is it like cow urine or something? I don't even know.
It used to be human.
What? You're shitting me.
No,
wrap up that segment.
It used to be human urine.
I can't even. They give them these gloves that go up to their like the base of their thumb, and they're like, that'll protect you when you're sticking your hand in a vat of piss.
Fingerless gloves.
I mean, what was the alternative? So they always have an alternative if they're doing some kind of extra challenge.
What was the alternative?
I don't know. Maybe they all had to do it. Did they all had to do that?
That wasn't a roadblock, was it?
Okay. The roadblocks, they give them the choice. But I think they all had to stick their hands in piss.
Had to stick their hands in
Everybody watch the show.
Steaming piss.
Amazing. Let's talk about my update on Life and Fate.
We have to explain what Of Life and Fate is.
Okay.
Because it's not a book that everyone's familiar with, to be fair.
It's I found that most Europeans know of this book. Americans are not even gonna probably know it.
No, I think you'd have to have an interest in Russian literature, to be honest.
So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about Life and Fate? Because I've only read maybe 30 pages and I've forgotten them all and I have to reread them. So you can tell everybody what's the premise of the book.
So Life and Fate is a novel that if you bought enough copies, you could build a significant house out of, really.
It's true.
It's a thick old book.
It's humongous, which is why and it's your favorite book, or one of your favorite books.
It's one of my favourite books.
And I said
ever.
to him, well, I'm going to read it then.
Yeah.
I love to read.
Yeah.
And
to be fair, I did warn you.
He did warn me. It's pretty grim. It's probably bigger than the Bible or the dictionary.
Yeah.
And the pages of my copy are so thin that even if I try to make a note, you can see it on the next 3 pages. Like, you can see right through the pages. So it's a humongous text. And I was like, of course, I'm going to read that. You've read it. I've got to do it. So gave up after 35 pages way back in January, February of 2020. And have not picked it up since. We've been doing other things.
Yeah.
I've made a move across the world.
You moved. And we did start another book as well.
We did. We tried to start another one.
The Female Face of War? Womanly Face of War?
The Womanly Face of War, I think.
We started that.
Yeah. So we have a couple books in the works. I'm supposed to give an update on Life and Fate because hopefully that will motivate me to read more of the book to prove that I've actually made progress in reading Life and Fate. So
Life and Fate is one of the seminal Russian novels of the 20th century.
Yeah.
It's written by a journalist called Vasily Grossman. And a lot of the book is based in fact. Grossman was a journalist who followed the Red Army around during the Second World War.
Yeah. So basically, it's boring, and there's a lot of words. They say the same things over and over. I only read 30 pages of it.
That's Russian literature in general.
Listen, I read 30 pages of it. I can speak from experience when I say that they say the same thing over and over in different ways, and they remind you how dreary it is, how cold, how rainy, how damp.
And that's what, that's the great thing about Russia. It's predictable, it's cold, there's lots of tea, people wear big hats.
These are all the reasons to like Russia.
These are the major themes of life and faith.
Yeah. So I'll give you an update next time.
You know what it is? It's Pulp Fiction, but set during a war during the communist regime, because it's multiple stories. No, it's multiple storylines that interlock.
That's true. I don't know if I would call it Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, no one's discussing burgers.
Exactly.
Do you know what they call a cheeseburger in Kiev?
A meat nugget? I don't know.
The peasant's disc.
Oh.
No, not really.
Oh. I'm pretty gullible.
Really.
That's one of the things you guys will have to get used to on this podcast. I sometimes get the jokes, not all the time.
And sometimes I just tell jokes that are so obscure that nobody gets them except me. But the most important thing in this life is to entertain yourself if no one else.
Yes, that's true, baby. So we were going to do, at the time that we came up with the idea for this podcast, you were running on the treadmill every day.
Yeah.
And we were going to do an update on like how much you ran.
Yeah.
Then our next idea was going to be, you got this paint by number set.
Yeah.
And you were going to update us on how far along
you are.
Yeah,
because I have no talent whatsoever at anything. So I need someone to draw a picture for me and then put numbers in boxes for me to create anything.
To be fair, there are a lot of people who love doing those. And
it's incredibly relaxing.
There's a Facebook group for it, and that's actually where I got the idea.
There's a Facebook group for everything. I've seen the dark side of the internet. I know what goes on.
The dark side of the internet? His Facebook feed is all Shih Tzus and Corgis. Looking concerned or overly disapproving Corgis. He's scrolling. We're watching The Amazing Race or whatever it is we're watching on TV, and I see him scrolling on his phone, and I'm like looking over. I'm like, who is he talking to? It's just like Corgi, Shih Tzu with a bow in his hair. Little video of a Shih Tzu doing a dance. That's all that's on his Facebook feed.
Well, I don't know what the point of social media is, if not for that.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if we can get some Shelties up in there. Because my Facebook feed is all Shelties.
Yeah.
I had a beautiful Sheltie named Bandit who I miss very much.
Yeah.
He's passed away. But I've filled my Facebook feed with cute Shelties.
They are very beautiful.
Yeah. We're big dog fans.
We are fans.
We love dogs. We are dog fangirls.
Absolutely.
Fanboys.
I'll say girl. I live in the 21st century.
So when we come up with a thing that you can update us on, then you'll update us on that.
Yeah.
We'll come up with it.
We'll come up with something, I suppose.
Sure. You can update us on
I could give an update on how our figs are growing.
Oh, yeah. We got two figs on our fig tree. That's pretty impressive.
It's very impressive.
And I did nothing to make that happen. So it's all you, babe. You will be the fig updater. The fig updater.
Fig, yeah.
I just made a noise.
We'll come up with something.
Oh, I just made a noise. Should we ask Charlie if he has anything to say about this new podcast? If he's got any final comments? Or should we... Charlie has fallen asleep somewhere.
Yeah. I think it would be cruel to... go and get his hot takes when he's gone to sleep. So we'll do that next week.
All right, we'll ask him later. So I think that's it.
Let's get out of here
for this. Yeah. We're gonna go eat some pasta and sausages and veggies and all sorts of good stuff. And what's
the Amazing Race?
Yes, we got to see who wins the Amazing Race. Okay, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
This was experimental.
It was experimental.
We'd also like to thank Anna Lilia Fiero for her recording of Ain't We Got Fun.
Which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. She's She's a rock star on her accordion. And thanks for friends and family who tuned in.